Hello. Welcome to Surviving Shock, my newest YouTube channel. I'm super excited today. I'm here to share with you guys how to manage emotions during difficult times. And those difficult times can be any kind of storm or any kind of event that changes your life, like a sudden job loss, a diagnosis of some form of medical condition for yourself or a family member, a loss or a death of a family member, a child, a child leaving off to college, any kind of change that erupts your life is this difficult moment. And that is what we're here to talk about on this channel is how do we survive those difficult moments? And so I'm super excited today to bring to you this information about how we can focus on what emotions are and why they become so intense during those stormy, difficult times. I'm Stacey Johnson. I'm a women empowerment coach, and I empower selfless, overwhelmed women survive life storms, regulate their nervous systems, break free from overthinking, and make confident decisions so they can live with clarity, calm, and purpose. And the reason that I do that is because I've experienced my own storm. And I have learned to thrive. And I wanted to bring that knowledge to other women. So that's why we're here today. My goal today is to build awareness and understanding of emotions, which is one of the first foundations for managing them effectively. By the end of this training, you will have a clearer picture of the role of emotions and why they often feel so overwhelming in challenging moments. And this is the first stage for future. This is setting the stepping stones for future sessions on this channel. So again, I'm super excited about bringing this information to you today. So first, we need to know what are emotions. And emotions are psychological and physiological responses to events, thoughts, or interactions. They are signals that help us navigate our environment and experiences. Feelings or emotions are energy. And so I like to identify them as basically vibrations inside our body that let us know something is going on. I'm going to show you a screen. I'm going to show you a feelings wheel. And if you want access to this feelings wheel that I'm going to be showing, you can access it by downloading or getting the link in the comments or in my bio. It's inside my illumination toolkit. And this feelings wheel is the first foundation of knowing what feelings are. And we're going to be talking today about the difference between these primary emotions right here, the secondary emotions, and then the tertiary emotions that are out here. So again, if you would like access to this feelings wheel, it's inside my illumination toolkit. So primary emotions are those basic emotions that we are born with. They are wired inside our brains. Those are the feelings like fear, anger, joy. They are our body's first response that we feel that are directly connected to an event or stimulus. Secondary emotions are those secondary emotions these secondary emotions. Okay. And those secondary emotions are often felt after the primary emotion has been experienced. They are the reactions to our primary emotions, and they're often habitual or learned experiences. Secondary emotions are thought to arise from higher cognitive processes and come after the primary emotion. And they sometimes will mask the primary emotion underneath. For example, If you're feeling anger, you may feel the secondary emotion of shame. Or if you feel joy, you may feel relief. So they mask that underlying feeling, the primary feeling. Sometimes the secondary emotions cover up the sensitive primary emotions with something less sensitive. So, in a way, it protects us from being vulnerable. But some secondary emotions, such as guilt or resentment, can lead to more pain and hurt as they build up over time. Secondary emotions are harder to name. They're harder to identify or put a word to that emotion. They also influence our behaviors, and they increase the intensity of our reactions, and they last a lot longer than primary emotions. And then those tertiary emotions, that third outside wheel, is even more complex, and they arise from further processing of our secondary emotions. Emotions are designed to protect us and guide us. Like I said, they're energy, so they're vibrations. It's a warning that something is happening. So, why do emotions intensify during difficult times? So, we're going to talk about the brain stress response. During difficult times, or what I've been calling storms, the amygdala is our brain's emotional processing center. And during difficult times, the amygdala goes into overdrive. So it perceives threats and it activates our fight or flight response, amplifying our emotions like fear, anger, or anxiety. And the heightened state prepares us to react quickly, but it can make feelings or our emotions feel even more overwhelming. So the prefrontal cortex is responsible for the logic, reasoning, and our emotional regulation. But this becomes less active during stress, making it harder to manage those intense feelings or think rationally about the situation. Difficult times often involve uncertainty, just like a storm, there are so many uncertainties that happen with a storm. Winds can change, everything can change during a storm, and so it builds uncertainty. And when there's uncertainty, it brings on more intense feelings, and our brain interprets this as a threat, heightening our fear and worry. Our emotions are designed to protect us by alerting us to danger. And in storms, we can experience this mechanism and it becomes hyperactive, causing us to react strongly, even to minor triggers. So think of it like as a car. Your amygdala is the gas, and the prefrontal cortex are the brakes. And during a storm or when stress is heightened, and it takes over the brakes and they stop working. And then when we face storms or difficult times, multiple stressors often occur simultaneously. And this cumulative effect makes it harder to process emotions individually, leading to emotional overload. Stress reduces our ability to cope effectively, leaving us more vulnerable to emotional intensity. So simple frustrations can feel like major setbacks, or we experience the snowball effect, which is when we are overwhelmed with this stress life event that has changed our lives. We are not managing those feelings well. We are, they accumulate. We stuff them, and then, or we're not labeling them. And then as life goes on, even though this storm is affecting, is taking place or has taken place, life still goes on. We still have to do day-to-day things. And so during the day, you may get triggered by somebody's comments. You may just have one of those moments at work where it is stressful and it builds, it goes on top of those overwhelming feelings that you're already having from this life event. And then you go home and all these feelings are built up and you lash out at your loved one. And now you feel guilty for lashing out. And then that might turn into some sadness. So we have that snowball effect. There's all of these feelings keep building up and building up. And just like when we roll a snowball in the snow, it keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's what happens with our feelings. So the primary foundation in regulating our emotions is awareness. It's the ability to identify, understand, and acknowledge our emotion. It's like turning the light on in a dark room. So now you can see better. With awareness, we gain clarity and choice. We take the power back. Without awareness, our emotions control us. So when we understand our emotions, we can respond instead of react. In tough times, we often suppress our feelings, like I said a little bit ago, and that's why that snowball effect will happen. But also what happens with the suppressing our emotions, we suppress them because we want to stay strong in front of others. We don't want other people to see what we're really feeling, or we don't know how to label them. So we, again, push them down. And what happens with unmanaged emotions is that it starts to affect our physical body. We may become more fatigued. We have increased levels of anxiety, even physical symptoms like headaches, blood pressure, maybe IBS. And it can affect our relationships because, like that snowball effect, we stuff them and then we may lash out at our loved ones. Or we may become so overwhelmed that we isolate and withdraw. So again, not connecting with our loved ones. And again, like I said, emotions are energy. And so when we suppress energy, it doesn't disappear. It builds up, eventually leading to burnout and all these physical symptoms that I just talked about, even explosive outburst. But it's like, imagine if I had my beach ball here, and then this is the level of the water. And the beach ball is my emotions. And so I push it down underneath the surface of the water so no one can see it. And I can only hold that beach ball for so long, right? I keep putting more pressure on it. More feelings keep building up. I keep pushing. Eventually, that beach ball pops up into my face, right? That beach ball goes flying. Water goes everywhere. And that's our emotions. They eventually explode in our face because we can't hold them down any longer. So effective emotional regulation begins with awareness, then learning the skills to manage them. So then we're not just surviving this storm, but we're learning to thrive despite the storm that we have had. We learned that we can deal with all those overwhelming feelings and then all the other feelings that we experience. We do not allow them to build up in our system. So if this is resonating with you, you can go to the link to the Illumination Toolkit. The Illumination Toolkit has our first step in awareness. It's an overwhelm checklist. So we start to look at what is causing all those overwhelm feelings. And we can do an illumination session, which is a free session to personalize that illumination toolkit for you. So I thank you for joining me, and I look forward to bringing you more sessions like this on surviving shock.